Check out our menu. Choose from a variety of fresh ingredients. Check out our salsa. Watch your burrito being made. Enjoy. Mo's Nose Catering, burritos, tacos, and more.
Hello there, everybody. Live from Mo's Southwest Grill in Cameron Village. This is Over the Boards with Mike Gazzillo. I'm Drew Blevins alongside the man behind the mustache. This is the 4th season of Over the Boards. Coach, thanks so much for returning for this season of the show.
Yeah.
Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, let's go ahead and get right into it. NC State does have one game under their belt already, but before we actually get to the game content, going to start out talking a little bit about the rosters. 9 seniors left last year. What are you looking for out of the freshmen as they step up to fill in those gaps?
It'll be a little bit of time before freshmen step up to fill in those gaps. But we've got a good group of guys that came in, to the team. Anytime you lose, that's almost half my playing roster, so we got holes like Swiss cheese all over the place. But, we got some new guys in goal, and we got, luckily we have a lot of the same defense, so that's good. But next year I'm going to lose quite a few of those guys. But the new guys coming in, they all seem to, play well, and they all seem to, get along and everything. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy about that.
No doubt last year was a successful season. Back-to-back ACCHL regular season conference titles, which is always a great accomplishment. A lot of those seniors are gone, as we said. Can you tell us how much confidence that you have in this young class coming forward?
We had a pretty good turnout at tryouts. I had heard about some of the guys, had some conversations with some of the guys going into it. We watched to see how they perform, talked to them a little bit with a pre-tryout meeting. I have a lot of confidence in them because they're playing with confidence, which for that big of a group of new guys is pretty important. They've been doing pretty well. They're paying attention in practice. They're asking questions. They seem to be getting along. They're jumping in, getting involved in things. So, yeah, I definitely have a good feeling about them.
Freshman class is 8 in number already after the game against Wake Forest. 3 points for NC State's freshmen, all 3 goals. But before we actually get to the offense, we're going to start in the goal crease. 2 new goaltenders coming in, small, young Joey Hall and a bigger Brian Nelson. Hall plays, but to begin with your goaltender, who right now is out with a lower body injury, Calvin Stone is obviously going to be the starter for most of these games once he gets healthy. What are you looking for out of him since he has to fill the great big shoes of Nick Camaras?
Calvin was a pretty good goalie coming into the team last year. And if you remember, we had the ACC goal of the year from the previous year and the guy who won it the year before that on the team. So, when he came in, he was already behind 2 guys that were, pretty established. But he played really well, and he got along with the guys. And, he got his games in, and we thought he did really well. And I'm excited to have him back. He hopefully we'll have him back for Clemson. And I think he could be a good role model for Joey and Brian. He's got a lot to offer. He doesn't say a lot, but when he does say something, it's usually, worthwhile hearing. So I think he's going to be a good guy to have around this year.
The 2 freshman goaltenders on this team, Joey Hall, who is every inch of 5'7". Brian Nelson, a little bit bigger. Hall gets the start against Wake Forest. Can you analyze his performance for us, and what can we expect to see out of the freshman core of goaltenders in these upcoming games?
I was happy with Joey. Oddly enough, I wanted to see him get more work as the game went on, which usually isn't a good thing because then why is the other team getting the opportunities they're getting, right? But it did work out that way, and he did handle it very well. And he was talking, they called a timeout, and he was talking to the guys, so he didn't, sit back and act like a freshman. He just, he knew his role. Obviously, he's played and he's been, on some pretty good teams. So he came in and he had something to say where it was worthwhile saying. Obviously he has a different style than Brian. They're very different, the way they play. Probably going to play Brian against Elon going in this weekend. And then, like I said, possibly getting Calvin back against Clemson.
Moving up to the guys who man the blue line, it, for the most part, is a very experienced defensive core for NC State. 4 senior defensemen, 1 junior, 1 sophomore starting against the Demon Deacons. You also add Simon Lecter back there, as well as Ryan Zipatelli, who was a healthy scratch against the Deeks. Talk about what that defense brings to you. Certainly that's going to be a little bit of a security blanket with so much leadership on the blue line.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge, especially when you've got, freshman goalies to have some experience back there. Guys have been around the game and around the speed of the game. It's going to be tough when we wind up losing those guys, the year after. But they've been really good with working with the new guys, in the drills and stuff like that, the systems and everything. So they're I wouldn't say they're right on them, but they're right there with them. A lot of good conversation, a lot of good communication. It seems like they all get along very well. So, yeah, I mean, I have high hopes for them as leaders moving on and leaving me with a good nucleus.
Can you specify some of the players that we should look to step up into a leadership role, especially with the loss of Tom Stryker?
You're talking about the seniors, or are we talking about...
Oh, any defenseman in particular. Seniors especially, but certainly not exclusive.
Well, I mean, Sean Bly is solid as a rock. He's one of the captains of the team. He's a great leader. Andrew Cook played with Nate Sprankler a lot last year, and I'll be honest, and I told him this. I wasn't sure how he was going to handle when Nate left. Nate was such a dominant, player, and Andrew stepped up really well into that role, and he's been pretty vocal with the new guys as far as getting them on board, doing things and doing some organizing. Simon is huge having him. Unfortunately, it's only going to be 1 year, but obviously he's a very good player, and he's good on the bench. Reed is we're going to have him back next year, so I'm hoping that he follows the lead of those guys, and he'll be able to take their place once they leave.
And the final question on the blue line shifts off the actual playing surface and onto the bench. You add assistant coach Jeff Wing to your coaching staff. He comes from the Raleigh Youth Hockey Association. Coach Wing, very experienced head coach, some very good teams in that organization. Can you talk a little bit about what we're going to see out of him, his coaching philosophy, and how much emphasis he puts on that defensive line?
Yeah, I mean, his kind of coaching philosophy is pretty similar to mine. I mean, we've had some conversations before he actually came on board because I wanted to get an idea. I mean, I knew he played. I knew he coached. I knew he had some success at the levels that he coached at. It was just a matter of seeing how his thinking, was going to be different or the same with mine. We think a lot on the same lines, not completely on everything, which is good. You don't want somebody following along going, yeah, all the time. So, and it's good for me because it gives me another perspective of things that, I can't see everything, But, yeah, I mean, he's pretty regimented on where he wants his guys, how we're doing things in the drills and being in position. And being ready to take that next step, trying to, you don't want to use the cliche of read, react, but that's kind of what it is. He wants guys to kind of see things before they happen so that we can be proactive as a defense.
And, of course, moving from defense now on to the forward core, not quite as much experience. It's been a whole lot of line jostling, losing so many seniors last year. But before we get to the losses, let's talk about the addition. NC State had the top scoring line in the ACCHL last year. Danny Fredenberg, Garrett Sunda, Alec Engel. Engel leaves to graduation, but you regain Billy Manuela from my freshman year, 1 year off the team, now back on, taking up where he left off. And now all of a sudden you have a speedy forward and possibly another top line in the conference. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and when his freshman year, he played with Garrett and Alec. So him and Garrett are pretty familiar with one another. And Danny and Garrett get together pretty well. We saw them in practice a few times. We didn't really have set lines going into it. We just kind of let things go and see how they went. And I mean, Billy adds a lot. I mean, having him back was huge. When I got a text from him during the winter saying, "Hey, Coach, I'm back with the Pack next year," I was very excited to hear that. He's hard on the puck. He's got a great shot.
it's going to be great having him back. He really, really helps.
You mentioned Garrett Sunda. He is right now acting as if he is the captain of this team. He's such a strong leader, scores 2 goals against Wake Forest. How comforting is it to have him back for his senior season?
Yeah, it's great, and he is the captain, actually. We just got some of the jerseys in, so we weren't able to put the letters on, but Garrett and Danny and Sean Bly, captains. Garrett's huge on and off the ice. You know, he's a good leader in the locker room, especially, you know, having a 4-0 with 2 engineering majors it just shows the new guys coming in that the schoolwork can be done. It's learning how to balance it. So he's a really good role model with that. He gets a lot of things done. He gets a lot of things organized. My concern with him is you need to start bringing in some guys and showing them what you're doing, because once you leave, if they don't know what's going on, we're going to have a mess. So I'm looking to him, like I said, on and off the ice to try to work with the guys and try to get somebody to follow in his footsteps.
So from the returning players, now we go to some of the fresh faces on this forward core. Leading the way, Addison Oliver, Luis Jimenez-Medill, Tyler Alfonsetti. They all made the score sheet against Wake Forest in that opening game. How do you like the forward freshmen?
Yeah, I love them. I walked into the locker room after the game, and we had the pucks, because they scored. And I said, it's the best part of, the beginning of the year when you get the new guys and you're able to give them a puck for their first goal and everything. But they got right in there. They got involved. And, very happy. And, we still got a couple of guys that really didn't get on the scoreboard or didn't get to play. And I'm excited to see what they can do. I can't play everybody, but I've got a spot for everybody. So, going into Elon, I know we're going to be down 1 or 2 guys, so it'll allow me to bring 1 or 2 of the other guys in and give them a shot. But I think everyone's going to really contribute.
In your post-game interview, you alluded to the fact that you liked the way that your lines were starting to gel together against Wake Forest, and that you were expecting to have to shift them up a little bit throughout the course of that game. Ended up not having to. Should we see any sort of experimentation against Elon, maybe even Clemson, or for the most part are these going to be concrete lines moving forward?
No, not concrete. Jeff and I talked about possibly moving 1 or 2 guys around. Not that they didn't compete, that they did. It's just I just want to get a different look just to see if maybe they complement each other a little bit more. Or the Elon game will be a little bit of an experiment. Nothing's concrete. There will be a couple of movement, and with I think Luis is not going to be able to be there. Jack McDonald's not going to be there, so we're going to have to put some new guys in. So that'll give me another chance to move some things around. You want to put guys in a position where they're going to succeed, So based on practice, that's really what I'm going to work off of. So, yeah, there'll be a little moving around. I think Clemson probably will be the bar that I want to go with going into the tournament the following week.
So we've analyzed each major position on this team. If you step back and look at the big picture, this team as a whole, how does it stack up to other teams you've had, most notably last year's ACCHL regular season championship team?
It's different because there's so many new guys, and we've only been together for about a month, maybe not even. So do we like what we see now? Yeah. But there's a lot of good teams out there to play. Not taking anything away from Wake Forest, but, there's a lot of different looks. There's more physical teams. There's faster teams. How they react in those games is going to be important to see. So, look, it's great to go in and you win your first game, but that don't mean anything if you don't win the next one. So it's going to be how much, resolve they have to keep coming out and realize that and take it with them, into practice and then, into the games the following week.
Compared to a practical juggernaut last year, is there any specific emphasis of area of play that we should look for out of this team?
No. Look, we got to be strong in the defensive zone, try to limit the opportunities of the other team. We got to be good in the neutral zone to try to get that puck back when we don't have it, or create a quicker transition than the other team does. And obviously in the offensive zone, we want to try to get, as many pucks to the net as we can. So, that's kind of what we've been doing all along. So I don't think that really anything – I don't think I'm going to have to change a whole lot, just for the simple reason that I've got new guys. It's going to be more how they react to it.
And before we take a quick break, taking even one step further back and looking through the lens of this new roster, the season as a whole, what are your expectations for this team?
Well, you always want to go in and win. And you always, the goal is the ACC tournament. The goal is first place again. The expectations of the guys are high. They know that. I'm aware of the fact that we have a lot of new guys. So, I got to kind of balance that without setting things unrealistic for them. But, I think we just go in, and the goal is to win every game as it should be. And where we do, that's great. We'll build on the good things we've done, and we'll work on the things that didn't go as well. And then where we don't win, it's just a matter of analyzing why. Do we get outworked? Do we get outplayed? Do we get outshot? And try to, correct anything that happens.
Well, we've analyzed the roster for this upcoming season. After the break, we'll come back and take a look at the scheduling, perhaps a little bit more specific things upcoming for this NC State Wolfpack ice hockey team. We'll be right back live from Moe's in Cameron Village with Coach Mike Gazzillo. We'll step aside for a moment.
Check out our menu. Choose from a variety of fresh ingredients. Check out our salsa. Watch your burrito being made. Enjoy. Moe's Knows Catering, burritos, tacos, and more.
Welcome back to Moe's Southwest Grill here inside of Cameron Village. Our first time shooting live on location for Over the Boards with Mike Gazzillo. For more information about Moe's Southwest Grill, visit moescatersraleigh.com. Coach, we've talked about the roster of this team. Now let's get into the scheduling. But before we get into that, let's talk about the one game already under your belt, a 7-2 win against Wake Forest. What was your immediate opinion of that victory?
Obviously we're happy we won. Happy about some things. We got a lot of shots on goal, so, that's one thing we talked about. Gave up 2 shorthanded goals, so, you got to stay out of the box, but in a situation where you're not going to stay out of the box, we got to tighten that up a little bit. Now, to the credit of the guys, it's not like we worked on it a lot. It was discussed, but so obviously it's something that we'll have to work on a little bit more. Also, some of the guys getting used to the bigger rink surface because not everybody played on that. Takes a little getting used to. I thought they did a good job. Would have liked to have seen the forecheck a little more aggressive at times. But, again, first game, happy. Realize where we got to work on it from there.
There's certainly an impact from the younger members of this roster. Most notably, Simon Lecter opens up the scoring. You turn it around. You've got Tyler Alfanzetti getting his first goal. Luis Jimenez-Medill gets a goal to begin the third period. How did the freshmen play?
No, they played great. Luis is a junior, so, new to the team. Addison's a grad student, new to the team. But I was happy with the way everybody performed. Everybody was great on the bench, even though you're winning, you still want to know that there's some chemistry on the bench. You still want to hear guys talking when they come off about, what they could do or where they should go or, how they want to play it next time they're out there, and that was there. So, they got out. They got right involved like it was just another game wherever they came from, which is good to see. There wasn't really a lot of hesitancy in their game at the beginning. We jumped right on them, and I think that was good that we were able to jump right on them because that got them right into it a little bit more. It wasn't like we got out there and got back on our heels, which maybe would have made them think a little bit more. Sometimes you don't want to think, just go out and play, and that's what they were able to do, and I think that helped. I was very happy with them.
Wolfpack Sports Television calculated 72 shots on goal against the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. The ACHA statistician in-house calculated 78. That's dangerously close to the 82 mark of the school record set against Duke last year. Still, only 7 goals scored. Do you attribute that to a lack of solid shot selection? Are we happy with 78 shots? Or did Cody Colangelo just play out of his mind for Wake Forest?
Well, you can't be unhappy with 78 shots. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get something like that. So now I got to let them know that they set the bar, so I expect that or more every game, right? Cody played outstanding. I thought he played an outstanding game. He had to make a lot of good saves, and he really kept them in the game. I mean, we had 25 shots on the goal in the first period and 24 in the second. So, I mean, that's a game's worth right there. And I thought he played an outstanding game. Again, there were some things that I wasn't happy with. You know, there were a couple of things that I would have liked to have seen us do a little bit different after the shot was taken, where we were positioned and how we were positioned, and maybe 1 or 2 decisions to pass instead of shoot or shoot instead of pass. But again, you know, 78 shots on net, yeah, I'll take that every game. You know, that's good to me.
A couple of fresh faces will enter into the roster against the Elon Phoenix coming up this Saturday, that game on the road at the Hillsborough Sportsplex. So, looking through the lens of the win against Wake Forest, what is your takeaway as you head to take on the Phoenix?
Well, like I said, you know, we've got to really get a little bit more on top of that shorthanded situation. You know, you never want to be in it, but if you're there, you got to be able to deal with it. I thought the power play for the little bit that we worked on it was good. We moved the puck. We kept it in their zone. Just going from last year, I expect a different type of game against Elon. So, you know, we'll talk about that with the guys. But, you know, other than that, it's business as usual. Go in, you go into another building, it's still a sheet of ice. It'll be a regular NHL size, which probably a lot more of them are used to than not. So that may make them feel a little more comfortable. But yeah, I think we'll be fine.
Elon finished 4th in the ACCHL last year. Shifting away, getting out of the preseason, if you will. These are against ACCHL opponents. These 2 games against Wake Forest and Elon. They, of course, do not count in the conference standings. The first true non-conference game is a trip to Greenville, South Carolina at the Pavilion to take on the Clemson Tigers. You talked about that's the game that you want to have a roster set, an idea of what moving forward in the rest of the season will look like. What are you looking for out of that game specifically?
A little more flow. I don't want to say a little more chemistry, but that might be part of it. The conversation, like I said, on the bench was good. If the guys that are playing together wind up playing together and they make some of the adjustments that they talked about, you know, that'll be a good thing. That's a positive because that means they're talking to each other, they're communicating. Clemson, usually a pretty good opponent. You know, we're going to have bus legs, so we'll see how some of the guys react to that. About a 5-hour trip. But yeah, I would say just try to get that chemistry and just try to make sure there's a nice flow to our game, you know, going into the tournament.
That game against Clemson in Greenville on October 2nd, and from that weekend on forward, it's pretty much hockey every weekend for NC State. Perhaps no weekend bigger than the Stephen Russell Memorial Tournament, which happens to coincide the weekend after coming back from Clemson. 3 games back to back to back, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those against Virginia, Georgetown, and St. Joseph's, new to the ACCHL. That's the conference opener. How important is it to go ahead and get as many points in the standings as possible in those 3 games to get off to a right foot in the ACCHL?
Oh, I mean, it's huge. I mean, you really want to set the tone for what you're going to do this year, and that's the venue for it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I don't know St. Joe's. But we certainly know what Georgetown and UVA are about. Expect really good games from them. Expect physical games. Expect a lot of, you know, scoring. But yeah, I mean that's where you want to get it going, and that's why going into the Clemson game, I want to try to have some kind of feel for how we're going to do going into that weekend.
The ACCHL added High Point and Charlotte last year. This year it expands again, St. Joseph's and James Madison. It's been a long time since you would have seen either of those teams. James Madison was an opponent 2 years ago. What's your best guess as to what they're going to bring into the league?
Well, James Madison, we actually played them last year early on. So I've seen them twice, both times one-goal games. They're fast, they're physical, clean, good hockey team. I think they're going to make the league better. I think that was certainly something that the North teams were looking for, getting a team of that caliber in. Now, you never know, again, with any college team one year to the next how it's going to go, but just going based on what they brought, to the table the last two games, I think they're going to be very competitive. And then, again, St. Joe's, I just don't know enough about. I really don't have anything I can add on that, unfortunately.
Conference games most certainly are able to draw fans in. It was an NC State University school club sports record for attendance last year against the University of North Carolina, topping out at a little over 600 students in the Iceplex. Tremendous turnout. This year, that North Carolina game is the night before Halloween, the night before the homecoming football game against Clemson. So many storylines going into that game, the same night as the homecoming parade. If you had to take your best guess, do you think that NC State could possibly pack the building with 1,000 students for that game?
Yeah, without a doubt, I think we can. There's other things going on around the school, but with Halloween being on the Saturday, I assume that most people will probably be around on the Friday night. The game's the next day. So it's been hyped for a while. I know for a fact that it's been hyped for a while. As soon as guys saw that, they get it right out there. That, like I said, that was a big game in terms of attendance, and people have said that they were going to come back and bring people with them. So, I think definitely 1,000 is an achievable number.
And without a doubt, if there was any reason to build up the rivalry even more, the last time NC State played against North Carolina, the Tar Heels defeated the Wolfpack in a goal with 1 minute and 11 seconds remaining in the third period. A.J. Hamel. The Tar Heels are the defending ACCHL champions. As always, that adds a little bit more fuel to the fire. But stepping out of the lens of conference play, there are also home-and-home series against the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, who has proven themselves to be historically a good team, making the national tournament at the D3 ACHA level last year, as well as Virginia Tech, a team that is perennially ranked in the division, typically in the top 15. How important are those games, especially if you look at it through the lens of being able to get point in the ACHA standings, the national standings?
I mean, to be honest with you, every game, I don't think about, well, this opponent's going to get me this notability or notoriety. We look at every game as, you go in, you work hard, you play your best. If it's a great opponent, that makes it even a better game. The Virginia Tech game last year was a really good game. They won. Good for them. They definitely outplayed us. We hope to change that around this year, especially when they come down and see us. Give them a little Southern hospitality, possibly.
NC State finished 16-6-0 last year, 16-6-1 if you consider the tie against North Carolina at Chapel Hill. This year, this is a schedule that looks to be very winnable, and it's not necessarily a weak schedule, but there is no game against Liberty. There is no long road trip to take on Tennessee and Louisville. If you had to take your best guess right now, if the team's playing its best hockey, is this a team that could reach 20 wins?
I mean, I'd like to say yes. You don't want to use that as fodder for somebody else. The bottom line is that we have good games. Yeah, I mean, Liberty, we tried to get them. We just couldn't. So it wasn't like, they didn't want to play us. We didn't want to play them. It's just, they had their schedule made, and we just couldn't make it work. Would I like to play them again? Yeah. Do I hope to play them again next year? Absolutely. As far as the Louisville, Tennessee thing, I mean, it was nice to get on the road, for that longer stretch, but that was the weekend before the Thanksgiving break. This year we got the Charlotte shootout before the Thanksgiving break. So, I mean, it's not as much of a road trip, but we're going to play Charlotte, we're going to play Georgia Tech, and I believe we're going to play University of West Virginia. So, good teams, a good caliber of hockey, and, I'm looking forward to it.
And finally, Coach, before we sign off for this first episode of Season 4, is there any specific game, aside from North Carolina, which is the obvious one, or any specific set of games that you have circled or highlighted on your calendar?
I don't. I'm sure other people do. I mean, that's generally what happens, right? You look at the schedule and you pick your games or you pick your weekend or something like that. Me, like I said, to me, it's every game's a must-win. Every game you go out, you got to work your hardest. You learn from your past game, whether it's positive or negative. And so no, I don't have anything specific that I would look at, but we just go out and plan on winning every one of them.
Well, that's certainly a good goal to go through. That's going to wrap it up for this first show of Season 4 of Over the Boards with Mike Gazzillo. If you would like to see the show live every third Monday of the month from now until March, you can visit with myself and Coach Mike Gazzillo. We'll be here at 5 p.m. every third Monday of the month at Moe's Southwest Grill at Cameron Village. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Moe's Southwest Grill. For more information, you can find them at moescatersraleigh.com. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Glad to have you back for another season of the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to be doing it. Thank you very much.
Signing off for the man behind the mustache, Mike Gazzillo, I'm Drew Blevins. Thanks to our technical crew. We will see you on the next third Monday of the month right here at Moe's Southwest Grill. You've been watching Over the Boards with Mike Gazzillo, a production of Wolfpack Sports Television, bringing you into the pack. See you next episode.
Check out our menu. Choose from a variety of fresh ingredients. Check out our salsa. Watch your burrito being made. Enjoy. Moe's Nose Catering, burritos, tacos, and more.